Hello, 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 and welcome to Couch Chats with Corey and Courtney.
Hello,
I'm Corey,
I'm Courtney.
and today on the show we have one of our best friends, Mitch Simmons. Hello, Mitch. Hello.
Hello, everyone.
Oh God, I'm so excited to have you on
Yay.
the show today,
I'm
friend.
so excited to be on your couch.
Yes,
Virtually.
Yeah.
one day you'll be back on our couch. You know?
True.
Where the hell are you broadcasting from today, Mitch?
From my little home in Brookside, Missouri.
Yeah.
Yes, I'm
Awesome.
sitting on. I just got home from work, and I'm enjoying a little bit of rain, overcast skies as I stare out the window, talking to the two of you. So it's been a good day.
What do you do for work?
So I am a nurse anesthetist, or a CRNA. So I am a nurse that is trained to do anesthesia. So most days I put people to sleep, or I put epidurals in women that are in labor, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm actually an essential worker. And so I've been going to work every day since this whole COVID-19 situation began. So it's strange. It's strange to go and work and still have the similar life that I did from a professional standpoint, but yet so many of my friends and so many of my colleagues, they've been affected so much by it. It's very strange to go to work every day knowing that everyone has been impacted by the situation so significantly.
I think you're the first person that we've talked to on the couch per se that works in this field, and especially right now. So, you know, your perspective of this whole thing is Looney Tunes. I know you and I have touched base a little bit about it, kind of like personally, but just like your life isn't different. Is it more like, is there a higher like urgency now? Like what are like the, you know, day-to-day differences, because you're not teaching anymore, right? I mean,
So half the time I usually teach at our nurse anesthesia program, and all of our students are dismissed from clinical until this kind of subsides.
Mm-hmm.
But from a standpoint, the hospital is definitely a different place. I mean, we walk in every day and we have to wear a mask, which usually, you know, not everybody wears masks while they're in the hospital, but everybody has to wear a mask at all times. You go in and you get in line to get your temperature taken. So you get your temperature taken every day, and then you go on to work. You wash your hands often. Obviously, the hospital doesn't have any visitors right now. So even, you know, when we're taking care of women upstairs in OB, they're very limited if they have one person, but maybe not any.
Yeah.
And so you have a lot of people that are very isolated in the hospital, sick. And then you have a lot of people that are there working that are very much keeping their distance from each other. So we eat 6 feet, 8 feet away from each other. You know, we wear masks when we're communicating with our friends and colleagues that we've had relationships with for, you know, 10, 20, 15 years. And so it's just different. It's a different world.
And you are kind
Definitely.
of the frontline sort of person to those people who are in there maybe without their friends and family. You know, typically babies being born or people being sick, you would have people around you. But you've sort of taken place of the like mother or the father or the best friend in so many different variables. And I can't imagine what that feels like to sort of have that new sort of relationship put on you above just what a normal sort of nurse relationship is.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, these patients are showing up for surgery and they can't have any visitors. And so they get escorted up from outside and they come to our waiting area, or actually their room. And then we get them ready for surgery and we take them back, drift them off to sleep, wake them up. And then, you know, they call their ride to come and pick them up hours later. So it's just a different reality. I just read an article, it was on CNN, I guess, maybe it was a piece that was about Truman Medical Center. And it was talking about how we have such a diverse population of patients that we care for and people that we care for, you know, lots of different ethnicities, a lot of different languages that are spoken. And it was an article about some of our like ministers or that work for the hospital. And one of this woman's job was to, you know, communicate with this family. She was talking about this, she was describing the story of communicating with this family who spoke Spanish only, because their loved one was in the hospital getting ready to die, to be completely honest. And she had to communicate and try to have the family that is at home grieving to be part of this person's final moments here on earth. So that is a new reality that we're trying to kind of navigate. It's just crazy to think about what we're doing, and these people that are literally not dying alone in a hospital. It's just sad.
How many hours a day do you spend with a mask on your face? Is it almost the entire time you're there, or do you get sort of breaks?
When I'm in the operating room, I wear, I have a mask the whole time, except when I'm eating. It's just different levels of masks that I put on.
Right.
So when I'm just walking around the hospital, it's much more of a casual mask that just pretty much protects me not protects me, but protects other people from me. Yeah. And then when I'm actually taking care of patients, when I'm getting ready to do things that are a little bit more higher risk for transmission of virus, I have to wear a special mask called an N95. And then if I have a patient that's actually positive for COVID-19, then we also, over that, we put a little hood on ourselves that has a little filter device. So it blows and filters the air in our little hood that we wear. It's called a papper. And so we wear that while we're caring for those patients as well. Plus gowns and gloves, two layers of gowns. And then it's a very methodical process. It's almost like a dance, really, to be completely honest. It's like a dance of putting all this equipment, and then you have to be very careful removing it all or doffing it at the end of the procedure. And so it's very much like a dance. You have to do this order and this order and this order. And we actually have two people doing that. One person actually putting it on and off, and one person just going through the steps with them so they don't miss anything, so we don't contaminate anything. Wow. So it's a very choreographed process of keeping ourselves safe.
Are you there are, you see these videos and these pictures and whatever of these nurses and people who are not going home to their families. Do you have anyone that is in your unit that are choosing to not do that? Or is it because we're not really at the largest epicenter, we don't have to think that way?
Not anybody that I know of from my family, but there's definitely a lot of us that have made plans just in case we do come into more consistent contact with patients that are positive. Then we do have backup plans of not exposing our families.
Yeah.
Whether that's staying with friends that are also in the healthcare system. A lot of the hotels and motels around Truman, which doesn't have a lot of occupancy, has given the hospital and healthcare providers special rates so they can stay there if need be during this crisis. And so there are options, but I don't know anybody in my own department that is taking any different scheduling of where they stay. But I'm not a nurse that's working in the ICU or in the ER and really exposed a much higher rate of exposure. Sure. So I don't know what those nurses and healthcare providers are doing.
Yeah. Well, the one thing you've lost in all of this is your facial hair.
I have. Yes, no. In order to get those masks to fit with the good seal, they have banned beards and women wear makeup. For the the poppers, I think it's more of the hoods. If makeup gets on it, they can't see.
Sure, yeah.
Because it's like a hood with a little screen, and so I think it has more to do with visualization.
Sure.
With makeup. So yes, I've had to shave my beard off a few weeks ago, and I'm very sad about it.
I shaved mine off in solidarity for you because I was my friend Mitch cannot have a beard, and him and I either are both hairless or both with full beard.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. I met you when we didn't have any hair for a few weeks.
So that is kind of one of our first questions for our people. How the hell do we know each other, Mitch, from your perspective?
Yes. So I not only work in healthcare, and that is my profession, but I also have a hobby and love of the arts, whether it's visual arts or theatrical arts. And I was a dancer in college. I danced for the University Dance Company at KU, and I was always into musical theater. And so I've done some community theater here in town, and I did a barn production of La Cage aux Follies, and I was with Coco. We were Cagels, and so we got to talk and put on dresses and prance around the stage.
I don't know if you can tell, it says anyway.
And it was so funny. We would get to the dressing room hours before everyone else, and we would just have the most magical moment, about 4 of us in the cast, where we just listened to show tunes or any music that we wanted to while we were putting on our makeup, and just had long, deep conversations, and we became instant friends. So that's how I know you.
You were my mirror buddy. It just sort of worked out that way, that you and I were sharing sort of that mirror. And that's really when we sort of got to know each other personally and professionally, because from that point, we did another play together when we were on stage, Yiddish with Dick and Jane. That was a lot of fun. I think we were both beardless for that show.
I think we were. I think that was the time previously that I shaved my beard. was for that show. So I had a beard for a few years.
Yeah.
And then you have been my wonderful stage manager in 3 different little shows. Old Girl, which was a 6x10 show at the Barn Players, You're in Town, and then Full Monty. So Mitch has definitely been on this journey with me since the beginning. Yeah.
It's been joyous. It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, and can you believe that's like 6 years ago or something?
No, that's crazy how quickly things go, and that when you're in a situation like this, it seems like some days seem like years, you know, but you can look back and 6 years was just so fast.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
When we met.
The way that like April has flown by, but March felt like it was at least 4 years long. Like I'm not sure which, you know, because I mean, obviously we've only been in this for really, in the grand scheme of things, not a super long time, but it feels
a little over a month, right?
Yeah, like an eternity. And also like it's blown by with, you know, nothing at all. Did you do Chorus Line too?
Yes.
I think that's where we met, because I saw you on stage at La Cage, but I was pregnant. Well, I guess I had just had Violet. And so I don't think we met because I had to leave at intermission. And yeah.
Yes, the winter after we were in, I did a Midlife Players for old people version of Chorus Line that Corey directed. And so that was the first time he directed me.
So fun. And that was like, that ended up being such a weird, special little piece because we only were allowed to rehearse twice a week. And it was during like Thanksgiving and Christmas and snowstorms. And I was planning a wedding. That's what it was. Yeah. I also got married like 3 weeks after that show ended. I was like, something else was.
You tend to do that.
Yeah, that has really
like
been
15 things that you're working on at the same time, Corey. You tend to do that often.
And what's gross is I'm trying to do that even in like isolation. Like, it's so, you know, because Courtney and myself, and along with Evie and then our other assistant Matthew Kohler, are trying to sort of keep the asylum, you know, going in a way that you're like, how do we keep something going when we don't know what the future is, and and what do we plan for, and what are we excited about, and how do we engage the city when so many people don't know what to do next? And as much as we all believe we're essential, or especially if you look on like social media and all of the people who are performing for people or trying to put light out there, I definitely think we're essential, but we are not as essential together as much as we can also be there individually. So this time is very interesting for the arts community as a whole. Courtney and myself, I think we're just on a conversation earlier today where you're just like, no one knows what, you know, normally in these situations you sort of have elders or like older companies that you can sort of go and talk to and say, hey, what do you do, or how do you adjust this? But the Arts Asylum is in the same boat as Spinning Tree and the Unicorn and the Rep, and we're all just in it together.
Right.
You know?
There's just so much uncertainty.
So
and
much.
You just can't plan for anything because you don't know how this is all going to pan out.
Right.
You know, who knows what will happen, and it's hard to really plan or think or you know, find solutions if you don't have really too much concrete to schedule or to plan for. It's hard.
You don't want to necessarily like give a date as an example, August 1st, and then something changes, and for some reason that August 1st is out in the world, and you know, and like we are just trying to be so careful about releasing information so we're not saying the wrong thing, or we're being insensitive, or we're asking in the wrong direction, or the mayor comes on and changes the rules like the next day. Because I think that is what we were talking about last Thursday on Couch Chats, and then literally we got off of the thing and he was like, it's
we're changing it again.
Yeah, and we're like,
right.
Yeah. So that's amazing. Where did you grow up, Mitchie? You said that you did theater in like high school and college. Where did you grow up at?
So I grew up in a very, very small town in southwest Kansas called Sublet, Sublette. And my right, it's a cheer. I could do the cheer if you want me to. So my father was a PE teacher and coach, and then became the principal of my high school, and my mother was a junior high math teacher. So obviously lots of educators. And then I went to school at KU, did my nursing degree there, and then I've been in Kansas City since 1996. So a little bit. I've been a nurse over 21 years.
Oh my God.
Crazy. Yes.
Degree can go out and drink legally now.
Yes. So crazy to think.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's how I came to be here in Kansas City.
Yeah. Well, if you were, I've sort of been asking this weird question. If this like pandemic had started, what would you have been doing right now? Was there something that you were like looking forward to, or a project or a thing that you were involved in that sort of got put on the back burner?
Well, this is a very busy time for our school. So I'm an assistant director of education for the Truman Medical Center School of Nurse Anesthesia. And this is a very busy time, end of year, lots of projects, lots of grading of papers, planning for graduation, orientation for a new cohort that starts next semester or next month in May. And so that would have kind of consumed my life right now. Unfortunately, nothing artistic. The last 2 summers, I've stage managed shows at Theater in the Park, but I'm getting ready to teach a new class this summer. So I knew I couldn't add something artistic to the mix right now. And so I really didn't have anything lined up. What?
You said the Theater in the Park would have been canceled anyway.
Right, exactly. I wore this in honor of, Julie Ewing and Newsies, which got canceled this week. I worked with her the last 2 summers.
Yeah.
And so I know they are heartbroken over there, but we'll come back stronger and more artistic. I hope that all the artists out there know that there's days when I've been stressed after work and exhausted and tired, and it's things like watching somebody sing a song or hear a neighbor play the guitar last night. Those are the situations on the art that people share that really does make a difference and lift spirits of people that really need it right now. So thank you for giving your heart and soul in whatever way you can while you can't do it on stage or, at a gig. It does mean so much to us to have those spirit.
I love that you have a guitar player next door. Matt and I have a trumpet player next door. And these last couple of days, we've had the windows open and he has been serenading us with, his, everything he has inside of his little heart. And I'm going to be like, good job, but stay over there. Just stay there.
That was great. So this gentleman did a little concert on his porch last night. And so the neighbors kind of from a distance listened, and it was really nice. It was a beautiful evening. It was pretty magical in the craziness that is our lives right now.
You have 2 animals. Have your animals sort of adjusted to the fact that maybe the daily routine of the household has changed?
Well, I think they're ready for us to go back to work. So my partner, Brian, works for Garmin, and obviously he can work from home. And so he's been home since, I think, the 15th or 16th of March. And, our dogs usually were home alone most of the days. We have 2 little Jack Russells. So they're very hyper crazy dogs, lovely. But I think they like to rest during the day, and then they would be crazy in the evenings. And I think they're really surprised that Brian is here literally 24/7, and people, they don't get their free time. I think one of our little dogs has been going downstairs now and will lay on our washing machine is downstairs. And so he would get into the hamper and sleep because that's kind of a quiet spot and it's dark and away from Brian.
You guys are so loud.
Right. Brian has to have a lot of conference calls. And so he's talking a lot, and Brian's been kind of frustrated because the dogs bark at like the mailman and FedEx and Amazon, because those purchases have increased. But and so it's just this new weirdness over here, and the dogs I just think are ready for us to go back to work.
Yeah, I've talked to some other people sort of about it. It's sort of as depressing or whatever, but like the jobs that some people used to have, like dog walkers or people like that whose job was to come over and take care of animals, like the necessity for that and the ability for them to sort of come into your house is gone now. So you sort of think of some of those like little temp jobs that some people had that now cannot exist because the supply and demand is, so much different now.
Right.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So what's been going on this week for you, Miss Courtney Perry? How's classes been going? And
classes have been good. We have been working on the Feeling Monsters book, and painfully getting through math every day. It's not the best thing in the whole wide world. And then with new workbooks came a couple new books for me, because I was pre-children, I was an avid reader, like probably 3 books a week. And then
wow.
with the kids, that just wasn't a thing anymore. And I was like, well, now I have all this free time. Let's pick up reading again. And unfortunately, I've read every book in my house, so I had to order some new ones. So I've been thoroughly enthralled in one of a member of the family, which is Insider from the Manson Girls. The one, Diane Lake, who was only like 14. I do love my true crime. So
that's quite an escape.
Yeah, I'm a weirdo who likes to go into those places, but it's a totally different perspective. The Manson family is something that I have done a lot of very weird research on, but obviously like hearing it from within the family is a totally different thing than like Helter Skelter, which is from the perspective of the detective and that, that sort of thing. So it's interesting to see what a con man that guy was.
Yeah. I love that you love your murder porn.
I do love my murder stories. Yep.
Yeah. All I do is like I have this strange new routine of almost like in the morning when I wake up, I do all of my like dancing and working out and taking a walk or whatever, because a lot of people want to have conference calls or things starting at like noon or 1 o'clock or something. So I feel like by the time that those are done, much of the afternoon is gone. So I'm waking up around the same time every day, but just really kind of pushing and changing my routine because Matt is at work every day, pretty much. And there is no rhyme or reason to his schedule as a manager. And so I spend a lot of time by myself, and that is not always good to do. So we also accidentally bought a Lego that we did not know that we bought. So I'm going to show that really
Surprise!
Quick. Surprise Legos, those are the best kind. As long as you don't step on them, that's the
worst.
Right. Yes.
Nice.
Carousel action.
Yes.
That's nice.
So we have
done. Obviously, you haven't started it.
No, we started bag 1 last night. This is bag 1.
There we go. Look at that.
Nice.
Yeah. It has a little like turn here because the carousel like moves,
Oh, nice.
That's fun. Yeah, there was a day that Matt and I were on eBay and we were kind of farking around and we like joined in on a bidding thing, and then we realized that we won the bid.
Won the bid.
So we were yesterday when it kind of like arrived or whatever, we go, oh, okay. I guess we'll keep this, Yeah, so it's pretty remarkable, those little things that we're doing now to sort of keep each other busy, if you will.
Well, you look like you're losing some weight with all the extra exercise you're doing. You look so thin. Well, I think the carousel and the beer.
Yeah.
So I don't know if that's the case, but you're looking very svelte there, Corey.
Well, thank you. You too. You look like a lovely 12-year-old now. So it's perfect.
At least make me legal.
So our next sort of sections is we get to go sort of into the question and answers portion of this. Right. So Mitch Simmons, what is your definition of real magic?
Of real what?
Magic.
Real magic? I think my definition of real magic is when I can, whatever I'm experiencing, forget everything else that's going on in my life. I'm kind of serious. I'm a very serious gentleman. And if theater or music or art or, gardening, if something can take me out of all the troubles and all the things going through my brain, I think that is true magic. That is magic for me, when I can completely just leave everything behind and experience what I'm there experiencing. Doesn't happen very often, but that's pure magic.
I love pure magic. Miss Perry, while I do something really quick.
Fair. Corey's going to leave for this. You are a new addition to the crayon box. What color are you and why?
I'm a new addition to the crayon box? Serious salmon.
Serious salmon.
Lots of S's. I do S's really well.
I love that. Serious salmon. Yes.
Serious salmon. And why is that?
Because I love salmon and pink and coral. Those are my favorite colors. No, it's not. Actually, green's my favorite color. But and I'm serious. I just am a serious guy. And so, yeah, I don't know why. It just came to my head.
I had salmon 2 nights ago. That is one perk of my husband working in a grocery store is pretty much anything I want, I can have in that regard. I believe you might have even gotten a care package.
Yes, I did. And it was the highlight of the week, I have to tell you. It was such a sweet, sweet, sweet gesture. And so thank you for that. It was lovely.
We're sitting around and we're trying to choose like maybe 1 or 2 people a week, and just send something or give, a little love or something. And so I was like, well, Matt, you work in a grocery store.
That's true.
We all love to like have snacks because we're stuck at home. And so really it was just our reach out to have a happy hour date with you. So we could be like, here's all of the supplies so we can drink together. Yeah. My next question is, what is something you were told you could never do or do well that you have done or you are in the process of accomplishing?
Wow, this is a tough one.
I know. I always do the tough ones.
I get the nice, fun, fluffy one.
Yeah.
What could I do? Somebody told me I couldn't do.
I think a random thing that people don't necessarily know about you is that you're a master gardener. I love that.
I'm a master gardener. Well, see, I don't know. I think it goes back to my mother is a very, very strong woman who never let any obstacle get in the way of her achieving something. And so and she really kind of fostered this sense of, if I put my mind to anything, I can do it.
Right.
And so I don't hear a lot of people say you can't do something, because in my brain I'm like, I can do anything I want.
I can do anything. Right. Yeah.
So I know that's the kind of a cop out answer, but I feel like if there's something there's nothing that I won't go after that I think I can do. Like, I don't know.
I love that.
There you go. I'm just gonna, that's my answer.
There's a lot of people who are not built on that sort of like confidence or belief in themselves. So that's really sort of awesome that you were raised that you came from a household that sort of implemented that, and that you've carried on that idea through your journeys. Yeah.
I mean, my mother was like the most influential person in my life. And she, was married very young, baby very young, had to quit college, and had 2 children. And she's just been so determined. She went back to school, went back to college. She got a degree. She got her master's degree. She would get up at 4 a.m. She would grade papers and do laundry and fix dinner every night, and still had a job. She went in and taught, was the most amazing teacher. And she just really, really worked hard to achieve everything she wanted to. And she's bright and wonderful. And I just feel like she really made achievement a possibility in our minds. And so she was so supportive of anything we really wanted to do. I just love that. I love her.
Your mom. Next time I can, I want to just go and hug your mom and thank her for. Yeah.
She's just like the most kind-hearted person you'll ever meet, and would do anything for her kids. She's lovely.
And how often are you seeing them virtually or on the phone or whatever?
At least once a week we'll talk, or a virtual talk. So often.
That's awesome. Miss Perry, your last question already, which is
I know, it's crazy. All right, so you are invisible for 24 hours. What do you do with your time? It can be dirty.
This is the one that like, I don't want to answer that question. That would...
I'll tell you the thing that went through my brain. I'll tell you that sometime in private over a beer or 2 or 4. But I think that I would love for 24 hours.
Yeah.
But you can like teleport, like you can
get
there.
You don't have to worry about travel.
Right? No. Yeah. So I would love to just be a fly in the wall in the White House right now, in these discussions that they're having about this pandemic, and just hear the BS that's being discussed, and how different it is to probably what they're telling the public. So I think that would be very interesting to not only just hear, but also like see how everything interacts and the workings and behind the scenes, and just what that process is like right now.
Yeah, I love to watch how the sausage gets made, if you will, and that really interesting to do that. Okay, well, my final two questions, which are always so silly. So is there anything that you have not had the opportunity to say? Any like things that you want to pimp or talk about or tell us about yourself that we did not get the opportunity to catch in our quick half-hour conversation? Nope.
Nope.
Yeah, that's fine. And then who would you like to hear from on the couch? Who is someone who we should call and interview for a half hour that might be interesting to learn from?
Have you done Julie Ewing?
Nope, she's on my list.
Yeah.
Yep, I would definitely say she has an interesting story and
Yes.
she likes to talk. So I think that would be pretty fascinating.
Yeah. And just this only counts as 0.5 of your couch chats because once we come back into the room, we would love to have you back and get like the full hour to like chit chat with you about something fun. Let's take our picture really quick. Yes.
One more question. So Courtney, how are the kids doing with all of this?
They're okay. Isabel's having a hard time, and it's progressively gotten worse. But she does a lot of art. That's she's trying to work through some stuff. Violet is not as social as Isabel is to begin with, so she's a little bit more like, hey, everybody's home and I can be naked all the time. That sounds great to me, because she very rarely
that does sound great.
clothes during this.
That sounds like Corey's quarantine as well.
Yeah, exactly. She's basically just been in a robe and in some form of naked for 40 days. She's fine. But Isabel's happy. She's my hugger. She's like, why can't I hug people or puppies or see my friends? So she's having a hard time, but I think we'll be all right. We'll get through it.
You did make some sock puppets or whatever. Not sock puppets. I don't want to degrade what you made.
my very intricate felt work. She's writing a book called The Feeling Monsters. So she's like gone through and she drew all of the feeling monsters to talk about this story, and then she like stood over me with a whip and made me make them out of felt so that she had little hand puppets to go with them. So they're pretty adorable.
Love that girl so much.
Yeah. So she very often just sort of goes into that world, which I'm glad that, we have been a family who talks about that kind of coping mechanism, because I think that if she didn't have that, she would be a disaster zone. But she's okay through all of this, as long as they just like stop eating. They just eat 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It's quite interesting to try and keep up with.
Right.
I feel the same way, eating 24 hours a day, mindlessly walking to the refrigerator.
Yep.
I love food.
Yes, it's been rough.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad they're doing well and can't wait to hug them when this is all finished.
Yeah.
Yes. And thank goodness they have art, Thank
exactly.
goodness they have that outlet. Art's so important.
And hopefully that's the other thing that we should say is that, because we'll be airing this Thursday, and everybody virtually do AIDS Walk on Saturday.
Yes.
That's the other thing you can prep for.
If you know us, feel free to send Courtney and myself a video. We're making one for the Arts Asylum. If not, make sure to tune in on Saturday and do the live walk for AIDS Walk. It's a really important thing, and I don't think I've missed a year unless they've canceled it. So I'm pretty into it. Yeah.
Are you guys taking donations through the Arts Asylum for AIDS Walk?
Yes,
we are. Yeah. So I will add tomorrow when this airs, technically, I will add the link to that.
Perfect.
Yep.
Sounds good.
Well, let's take our picture really quick.
All right. Okay, hold on. I gotta get the right buttons. Okay. All right. Okay, perfect.
Okay. Well, thank you Mitch, so much for being on the couch this week.
Sorry it was so serious.
Yeah.
When this is all said and done, we'll have a few cocktails and have a more robust conversation. Okay.
I would love that. And then,
I would love that too.
And then Matt and I will be in touch about our virtual happy hour very soon. Yeah.
Sounds good. Well, love you guys.
This week's Couch Chat. So thank you so much. Follow us on YouTube and Facebook and Instagram. Bye-bye.
Bye.